The new season begins with a somber yet powerful tone, setting the stage for future wars both political and personal. The episode weaves together prophecy, shifting allegiances, and the heavy cost of leadership. The episode opens with a rare flashback. A young Cersei Lannister visits a witch in the woods, seeking knowledge of her future. The woman grants her 3 questions. Cersei asks if she will be queen, and the answer is yes, but not forever. The witch warns her that a younger, more beautiful queen will one day replace her. She also foretells that all of Cersei's children will die, each with golden crowns and golden shrouds. This haunting prophecy explains much of Cersei's paranoia and obsession throughout the series. It frames her as a woman forever battling a future she cannot escape. Back in King's Landing, Tywin Lannister's death has shaken the foundations of the realm. His body lies in state, and mourners gather. Cersei stands watch, but instead of grief, she radiates anger. Jaime comforts her, but she lashes out, blaming him for their family's weakness. Without Tywin, House Lannister appears vulnerable. Cersei's harsh words mark a growing divide between her and Jaime. Their bond, once inseparable, begins to fray under the weight of loss and politics. Far away, Tyrion Lannister emerges from the crate that smuggled him out of King's Landing. He is broken, drinking heavily and drowning in bitterness. Varys is by his side, patient and composed. Varys tells Tyrion that Westeros still needs a ruler, someone strong, just, and capable of uniting the fractured kingdoms. He believes that ruler could be Daenerys Targaryen. Tyrion scoffs at the idea, but Varys' vision plants a seed. Even in despair, Tyrion may still play a role in shaping the realm's future. In Meereen, Daenerys faces her greatest challenge yet. Not conquest, but governance. A secret resistance group, the Sons of the Harpy, begins killing her unsullied in the streets. Their masked faces symbolize the deep resistance to her rule. Daenerys responds with firm justice. When a freedman kills a captured Harpy without trial, she has him publicly executed. The crowd, once adoring, turns restless and hostile. Daenerys feels the weight of ruling. Freeing slaves is simple, but ruling free people is perilous. At the same time, her dragons grow larger and wilder. Drogon disappears into the wild, while Rhaegal and Viserion, chained in the catacombs, snarl even at their mother. Daenerys, once Maesa, faces the cruel truth. Her children are no longer tame, and her rule is slipping. At Castle Black, the battered Night's Watch tends its wounds. Stannis Baratheon, with his army, now commands the Wall. He demands that the wildlings vow and fight for him in his claim to the Iron Throne. Their king, Mance Rayder, refuses. Stannis condemns Mance to burn alive for defiance. As flames rise, Jon Snow cannot bear to watch his former ally suffer. He takes a bow and mercifully shoots Mance with an arrow, ending his agony. The act reveals Jon's compassion, even when it risks Stannis' wrath. It is a moment that defines Jon as a leader of honor rather than fear. Elsewhere, Sansa Stark travels with Peter Baelish. Her demeanor has changed. She is no longer the frightened girl of King's Landing. In dark clothing and with cold resolve, she listens as Baelish outlines new schemes. Their destination is uncertain, but Sansa has begun to learn the art of the game from one of its masters. Meanwhile, Brienne of Tarth and Podrick Payne wander the countryside. Brienne feels lost, her vow to protect the Stark girls seemingly in vain. Podrick remains loyal, but Brienne's ideals clash with a world where honor rarely survives. Their journey underscores the contrast between pure loyalty and brutal reality. The episode closes with Mance Rayder's death by fire. Jon's arrow silences his screams, and the flames crackle in the night. The camera lingers on Jon's face, haunted, resolute, and aware that greater wars are yet to come. The episode opens with Arya Stark arriving in the city of Braavos. Her journey across the narrow sea has finally brought her to the House of Black and White. She clutches the iron coin given to her by Jaqen Hagar and whispers the words, Valar Morgulis. The massive doors open and Arya steps inside expecting recognition. Instead, she finds a cold and silent hall filled with statues of countless gods. A mysterious man greets her but denies her entry, saying she is not ready. Arya is left outside, forced to endure hunger and loneliness. For days she waits, her determination unbroken. At last, she is admitted into the House of Black and White, where she begins her training to abandon her past identity and embrace the path of no one. This marks the true beginning of Arya's transformation. Back in King's Landing, Cersei Lannister works tirelessly to maintain control after Tywin's death. Her son Tommen is king, but he is still young and impressionable. The Tyrells are gaining influence, especially through Queen Margaery's growing closeness to Tommen. Cersei attempts to tighten her grip on the small council. She sends Mace Tyrell on a mission to the Iron Bank of Braavos, both to weaken his presence in court and to secure funds. At the same time, she draws Qyburn closer, tolerating his dark experiments. In doing so, she sets the foundation for a dangerous alliance that will have long-term consequences. Cersei confides her fears about Myrcella, who resides in Dorne. Oberyn Martell's death has created a tense atmosphere, and Cersei worries the Martells may harm her daughter in retaliation. Jaime decides to act. Secretly, he recruits Bronn to accompany him on a dangerous mission to Dorne. Their partnership, full of wit and banter, adds levity to the season while setting up one of the central storylines. Meanwhile, in Meereen, Daenerys continues to struggle with ruling. The Sons of the Harpy, a masked resistance group, escalate their attacks. One of her Unsullied is brutally murdered. A captured Harpy faces trial, but before justice can be carried out, a freedman kills him in vengeance. Daenerys cannot allow chaos to reign. To reinforce her authority, she publicly executes the freedman. But instead of calming the people, her decision incites anger. The crowd hisses and boos, revealing the growing distance between queen and subjects. Daenerys is forced to realize that her vision of justice is not always shared by those she rules. She freed the slaves, but governing free people is far more complicated. Later, Drogon suddenly returns, flying over Meereen. Daenerys approaches him, awed by his size and strength, but Drogon is no longer tame. He spreads his wings and disappears into the sky. Daenerys is left staring upward, torn between pride and fear. Traveling through the Vale, Sansa Stark continues her uneasy alliance with Petyr Baelish. Unlike the frightened girl she once was, Sansa now shows resolve. Dressed in dark clothing, she carries herself with a new composure. Baelish speaks of opportunities and schemes, hinting at plans in the north. Sansa listens closely, her face calm but her mind sharp. She has begun to learn the art of the game, and with Baelish as her teacher, her innocence fades into strategy. At Castle Black, Stannis Baratheon still presses his claim to the throne. He sees Jon Snow's potential and offers him legitimacy. If Jon bends the knee, Stannis will name him Jon Stark, Lord of Winterfell. For Jon, the offer is both tempting and tormenting. For the first time, he could shed the label of bastard and rule as a Stark of Winterfell. But to accept would mean betraying his vows to the Night's Watch. Jon's inner conflict defines much of the episode. It is not simply a choice between two paths, it is a test of identity. Who is Jon Snow, a loyal brother of the Watch, or a Stark destined to reclaim his family's seat? Elsewhere, Brienne and Podrick continue their search for Sansa. Brienne feels hopeless, questioning her purpose. Podrick remains loyal, but their journey highlights the tension between Brienne's ideals and the harsh reality of Westeros. The episode ends with Drogon soaring above Meereen, his silhouette blotting out the sun. Daenerys watches, awestruck but powerless. The Queen of Dragons has freed cities, but she cannot control her own children. The wars to come will not be won easily. Arya Stark begins her training in Braavos at the House of Black and White. She quickly discovers that her path to becoming a faceless man is not glamorous. She is tasked with cleaning floors, serving water, and washing corpses. Her greatest struggle is letting go of her past identity. She hides Needle, her cherished sword, instead of discarding it. This act shows that Arya is not ready to abandon her Stark identity. The priests remind her constantly, "There is no Arya Stark here. There is only no one." This conflict between who she was and who she must become is the essence of Arya's arc in this season. At the Wall, Jon Snow faces his first major test as Lord Commander. Though Stannis has offered to legitimize him as Jon Stark, Jon chose duty over desire and remained with the Night's Watch. Now he must lead. He orders Janos Slynt to take command of Greyguard, an abandoned castle. Slynt refuses, mocking Jon openly. Jon responds by executing him before the Brothers of the Watch. This act mirrors Ned Stark's lesson. The man who passes the sentence should swing the sword. By carrying out justice himself, Jon proves he is both strong and fair. The men of the Watch begin to respect him not just as a commander, but as a true leader. Peter Baelish takes Sansa Stark northward. His plan is shocking. He intends to marry her to Ramsay Bolton, solidifying an alliance between the Boltons and the Vale. At first, Sansa is horrified, but then she accepts. This acceptance is not a surrender, it is a transformation. Sansa has learned that survival in Westeros means playing the game. Her decision shows that she is no longer a frightened girl, but a woman beginning to wield her own power. In King's Landing, Cersei struggles against the rising influence of the Tyrells. With Margaery soon to marry Tommen, Cersei fears losing her son and her hold on the throne. Amid this tension, a new religious movement begins spreading through the city. The High Sparrow, a humble yet commanding man, serves the poor and inspires devotion. Cersei sees an opportunity. By aligning with the High Sparrow and his followers, she believes she can create a counterbalance to the Tyrells' influence. This alliance, however, is a dangerous gamble. What begins as a tool for Cersei's power will later grow into a force beyond her control. Elsewhere in Essos, Tyrion travels with Varys. Frustrated with hiding, Tyrion insists on walking among people, even visiting a brothel. But his freedom does not last long. He is suddenly captured by Ser Jorah Mormont, who declares he will take Tyrion to the Queen. This unexpected abduction changes Tyrion's fate and sets him on a collision course with Daenerys Targaryen. Jaime Lannister and Bronn continue their secret mission to Dorne. Their banter and contrasting personalities bring humor to an otherwise dark season. Jaime seeks redemption and to prove himself worthy despite losing his hand. Bronn, practical and mercenary as ever, provides a sharp counterpoint. The episode closes with Sansa riding toward Winterfell, her childhood home. But the girl who left Winterfell long ago is gone. In her place is a woman ready to play the Game of Thrones. Her calm, cold expression signals her transformation. The fourth episode intensifies the conflicts across Essos and Westeros. In Meereen, the rebellion grows bloodier. In King's Landing, Cersei's dangerous gamble with religion begins. In the north, Sansa returns to her home under the shadow of the Boltons, while Jon Snow and Stannis face questions of loyalty and destiny. Daenerys Targaryen's rule is increasingly threatened by the masked insurgents known as the Sons of the Harpy. These rebels target her unsullied in brutal ambushes, spreading fear in the streets of Meereen. In one of the episode's most powerful sequences, unsullied soldiers are trapped in narrow alleys and cut down by waves of masked assassins. Ser Barristan Selmy, the honorable knight who once served her father, rushes to their aid. He fights valiantly, his sword flashing with the skill of a lifetime, but the numbers overwhelm him. Barristan collapses, gravely wounded. His fall is symbolic. The old guard of Westeros is dying, and Daenerys' fragile reign is under siege. In King's Landing, Cersei Lannister watches with growing frustration as her son Tommen becomes increasingly influenced by Margaery Tyrell. Cersei fears losing her grip on the throne to the Tyrells. To counter this, she aligns with the High Sparrow, empowering his followers, the Sparrows, to enforce morality and law in the streets. She gives them weapons and authority, unleashing a militant faith. In the short term, it weakens her rivals, but in truth, she plants the seeds of her own downfall. What begins as political maneuvering soon grows into fanaticism beyond her control. Meanwhile, Jaime Lannister and Bronn infiltrate Dorne to rescue Myrcella. Their journey is filled with sharp banter and camaraderie. Jaime, still haunted by guilt, seeks redemption through protecting his daughter. Bronn, pragmatic and witty, balances Jaime's seriousness with humor. But danger looms. The Sand Snakes, daughters of Oberyn Martell, also plot to seize Myrcella, intending to use her as a weapon in their quest for vengeance. Dorne becomes a chessboard with Myrcella as the prize. At the Wall, Stannis Baratheon prepares to march on Winterfell. Melisandre continues to whisper visions of destiny, encouraging him to embrace his role as the chosen king. Stannis also reminds Jon Snow of his earlier offer: legitimacy as Jon Stark, Lord of Winterfell. But Jon remains bound by his oath to the Night's Watch. Meanwhile, Sansa Stark arrives at Winterfell, her childhood home, now under the control of the Boltons. She is betrothed to Ramsay Bolton, a union orchestrated by Peter Baelish. The return is bittersweet. Winterfell is her home, but it feels alien, corrupted by the Boltons' cruelty. In a quiet, poignant moment, a servant whispers to Sansa, "The North remembers." This reminder gives her strength, showing that the Stark name still inspires loyalty. Back at Castle Black, Jon adjusts to command. Melisandre approaches him, attempting to seduce him, claiming that he is destined for something greater. Jon resists, staying true to his vows. Her words, however, plant an unsettling seed. Jon is meant for a larger role in the coming war. Elsewhere in Essos, Tyrion Lannister finds himself bound and under the control of Ser Jorah Mormont. Jorah intends to deliver Tyrion to Daenerys as a way of regaining her favor. Tyrion, with his sharp wit, quickly realizes what Jorah intends. Ironically, Jorah's plan brings Tyrion closer to the queen he and Varys had already set out to find. The episode closes in Meereen with the bloody ambush. The sons of the Harpy leave corpses and chaos in their wake. Ser Barristan lies wounded, Grey Worm, among the fallen unsullied. The camera lingers on the devastation, reminding viewers that Daenerys' rule is fragile and under siege. The war for Meereen has truly begun. Meanwhile, Daenerys rules with fire and blood in Meereen. Sansa faces growing danger in Winterfell, and Tyrion and Jorah venture into cursed lands. Themes of growth, authority, and inevitability dominate. The episode begins with Daenerys grieving the death of Ser Barristan Selmy, who fell fighting the Sons of the Harpy. His loss shakes her deeply, but instead of retreating, Daenerys embraces ruthless authority. She gathers the leading noble families of Meereen, many of whom she suspects of aiding the Sons of the Harpy. Though she does not condemn them all, she makes an example of a few. Shackled, they are dragged before her chained dragons. In a terrifying display of power, she has them burned alive and devoured. The sight terrifies both nobles and freedmen. Daenerys strengthens her grip through fear, but this decision pushes her closer to tyranny. She once freed slaves as a liberator. Now she rules them with fire and blood. At Castle Black, Jon Snow grapples with his new responsibilities as Lord Commander. He seeks counsel from Maester Aemon, who tells him, "Kill the boy, Jon Snow. Kill the boy, and let the man be born." The old Maester warns him that leadership demands choices that are neither popular nor easy. Taking this advice to heart, Jon makes one of his boldest decisions: to ally with the wildlings. He understands that the true enemy is not across the wall, but beyond it, the White Walkers. The only hope for survival is unity. This decision divides the Night's Watch. Many of Jon's brothers hate the wildlings and view them as murderers. They accuse Jon of betrayal, yet Jon stands firm, proving he is willing to carry the burden of leadership, even when it means standing alone. Meanwhile, in the north, Sansa Stark is trapped in Winterfell, now controlled by the Boltons. Peter Baelish has promised her marriage to Ramsay Bolton, a union meant to legitimize their rule. Sansa's return to her childhood home is haunting. The walls and halls of Winterfell feel familiar but corrupted. Ramsay, with his cruel smile and unsettling gaze, looms over her future. In a key moment, a servant whispers to her, "The North remembers." These words remind Sansa that not all hope is lost. There are still those loyal to the Stark name. Yet the danger is real, Ramsay is merciless, and any whisper of rebellion risks brutal punishment. Outside Winterfell, Stannis Baratheon prepares to march through the snow to face the Boltons. The coming winter is harsh, but Stannis refuses to delay. His determination reveals his iron will. In tender moments, he speaks with his daughter Shireen. Selyse, his wife, treats Shireen coldly because of her grayscale scars, but Stannis shows genuine love. He recalls how he refused to abandon her despite the disease. Beneath Stannis's hard exterior lies a father's heart. Melisandre, however, continues to weave her prophecies around him, pushing him toward darker choices. In Essos, Tyrion Lannister and Jorah Mormont journey by boat. Their relationship is tense. Tyrion mocks Jorah's failures, while Jorah clings to his hope of redeeming himself in Daenerys' eyes. Their path takes them through the ruins of Valyria, a legendary cursed land once home to dragon lords. The ruins are haunting, a graveyard of a fallen empire. As they pass, they witness Drogon flying overhead, a breathtaking, ominous reminder of Daenerys' growing power. But their awe is shattered when they are attacked by stone men, outcasts infected with grayscale. The creatures swarm the boat. Tyrion is dragged into the water but survives, rescued by Jorah. Unknown to Tyrion, Jorah is touched during the fight. Afterward, he hides the spreading grayscale infection on his arm. His fate is sealed. The episode ends with Jorah secretly inspecting his infected arm. The grayscale mark spreads slowly across his flesh. He conceals it, determined to continue his mission. Meanwhile, at the wall, Jon's decision to ally with the wildlings spreads unease among his men. Whispers of betrayal circulate. The question hangs in the cold air. Is Jon saving the realm or sealing the Watch's doom? In Braavos, Arya Stark continues her service in the House of Black and White. Her duties remain menial, cleaning corpses, scrubbing floors, but she slowly begins to understand the philosophy of the faceless men. When a man arrives with his sick daughter, Arya observes how death is offered not as punishment, but as mercy. She begins to comprehend that in this house, death is a gift. Still, Arya struggles to abandon her Stark identity. She hides Needle, her sword, refusing to discard it completely. When she tries to lie about her past, her mentors expose her. They remind her that no one cannot cling to lies or names. This is the heart of her transformation. To become no one, Arya must first let Arya die. Across the narrow sea, Tyrion and Jorah Mormont find themselves captured by slavers. The traders intend to sell them into the fighting pits of Meereen. Tyrion uses his quick wit to prove his value, while Jorah's strength earns him a place as a gladiator. This twist of fate pushes them closer to Daenerys, though by a path neither expected. Tyrion, destined for Daenerys, inches toward her throne not through diplomacy, but through chains. In King's Landing, Cersei Lannister's schemes take shape. She strengthens her alliance with the High Sparrow, and empowers the faith militant, granting them weapons and legal authority. Their first major target is Loras Tyrell. His homosexuality is exposed, leading to his arrest. Queen Margaery attempts to defend her brother, but she too is accused of lying under oath. Both siblings are imprisoned. Cersei believes she has weakened the Tyrells and regained control, but she is blind to the danger she has unleashed. The faith militant does not serve Cersei, they serve their god. Their zealotry will consume more than just her enemies. In Dawn, Jaime Lannister and Bronn infiltrate the Water Gardens to retrieve Myrcella. However, the Sand Snakes, daughters of Oberyn Martell, move against them. A chaotic battle erupts. Jaime struggles with only one hand, while Bronn fights fiercely, his wit never failing. The Sand Snakes demonstrate their deadly skill, but the fight ends inconclusively as Martell guards intervene, arresting all parties. The clash reveals the volatile state of Dawn. Vengeance for Oberyn's death is still fresh, and Myrcella remains at the center of the conflict. The most harrowing part of the episode unfolds in Winterfell. Sansa Stark, returned to her home under the guise of marriage, weds Ramsay Bolton. The ceremony is bleak, set against the cold stone walls of Winterfell. Petyr Baelish's promises of power and revenge echo in Sansa's memory, but the reality is crueler. On their wedding night, Ramsay reveals his true sadism. He assaults Sansa while forcing Theon Greyjoy, Reek, to watch. The camera focuses not on the violence itself, but on Sansa's tear-streaked face and Theon's horror. This moment breaks both characters in different ways. Sansa, once a girl dreaming of fairy tale marriage, now endures a nightmare. Theon, already shattered, is forced deeper into despair. The scene is one of the most divisive in the show's history, a symbol of both brutality and the cruel political world of Westeros. The episode closes with Winterfell's gates silent in the night. Inside, Sansa's cries and Theon's devastated expression tell the story of shattered innocence and unchecked cruelty. The Martell words, unbowed, unbent, unbroken, echo with bitter irony. In truth, the strong are bowed, bent and broken again and again by the Game of Thrones. Jon Snow, newly burdened as Lord Commander, acts upon Maester Aemon's advice. Kill the boy and let the man be born. He departs Castle Black with Tormund Giantsbane to travel to Hardhome. His goal is to convince the wildlings to join forces against the coming threat of the White Walkers. This decision fractures the Night's Watch. Many brothers, including Sir Alliser Thorne, accuse Jon of betraying their vows. They see wildlings as the eternal enemy. But Jon, with clarity beyond his years, understands the greater enemy is not men, but death itself. One of the episode's most poignant moments is the passing of Maester Aemon, the oldest and wisest man of the Watch. On his deathbed, his thoughts drift back to his youth and his brother, calling softly, "Egg, egg," a heartbreaking reference to Aegon V Targaryen. With his death, the Watch loses its guiding light. Jon, away on his mission, loses his greatest advisor. The absence of Aemon underscores the fragility of Castle Black's leadership. At Winterfell, Sansa Stark continues to suffer under Ramsay Bolton. Yet she finds the courage to reach out to Theon Greyjoy, once her family's ward, now Ramsay's broken servant. She pleads for his help, urging him to light a candle in the broken tower as a signal to loyal northern allies. But Theon, consumed by fear, betrays her trust and informs Ramsay instead. The moment crushes Sansa's hopes. Yet in her eyes burns not surrender, but anger. She may be trapped, but she is not defeated. In the harsh snows of the north, Stannis Baratheon's army suffers. Winter storms destroy supplies, men desert, and morale crumbles. Davos Seaworth advises retreat, but Stannis refuses. His iron will pushes them forward. Melisandre tempts him with a darker solution, the sacrifice of someone with king's blood. The ominous implication falls upon his daughter, Shireen. Though Stannis rejects the idea here, the seed is planted for tragedy yet to come. In Essos, Tyrion and Jorah survive their capture by slavers and are brought to the fighting pits of Meereen. Jorah's martial skill earns him a place among the fighters, while Tyrion's quick thinking spares his life. At last, the long-awaited moment arrives. Tyrion is brought before Daenerys Targaryen. The Queen and the outcast finally meet, their destinies colliding. Tyrion, one of the sharpest minds in Westeros, and Daenerys, a queen in need of guidance, begin a partnership that will shape the wars to come. In King's Landing, Cersei Lannister revels in her apparent triumph. Loras Tyrell has been imprisoned, and Margaery Tyrell, queen and rival, has also been seized by the Faith militant. Tommen, still young, is powerless to act. Cersei believes she has won, but her alliance with the High Sparrow turns against her. The zealous leader makes it clear that justice applies to all, highborn or low. Cersei is accused of adultery and incest, and she is thrown into a cell. The queen who thought herself untouchable is reduced to a prisoner. Her own schemes designed to destroy the Tyrells have ensnared her. The episode ends with Cersei, locked in a cold stone cell. Her screams echo off the walls as the realization dawns she is not above judgment. Meanwhile, the great game continues to shift. Jon rides into danger, Sansa plots survival, Stannis trudges into doom, and Daenerys gains a new advisor. The gift of this episode is not land, but the cruel, ironic gifts of life and consequence. Episode 8 stands as one of the most legendary moments in the series. Hardhome is not just another chapter, it is a seismic shift that reveals the true scale of the threat beyond the wall. The episode focuses on Jon Snow's attempt to ally with the wildlings, Daenerys' acceptance of Tyrion as an advisor, Cersei's downfall in King's Landing, and, most memorably, the terrifying assault of the White Walkers at Hardhome. In Meereen, Daenerys Targaryen finally comes face to face with Tyrion Lannister. Tyrion, armed only with his wit and insight, convinces her that he can serve as her advisor. Daenerys listens carefully, testing him with sharp questions, and gradually acknowledges the wisdom in his counsel. Tyrion advises her not to kill indiscriminately, but to govern with strategy as well as fear. His words plant the foundation of a partnership that will change both their destinies. This is the birth of an alliance between the Dragon Queen and the sharpest mind in Westeros. In King's Landing, Cersei Lannister finds herself caught in her own snare. Having empowered the Faith militant to eliminate her rivals, she now faces their judgment. Imprisoned by the High Sparrow, she languishes in a dank cell, her pride slowly giving way to desperation. A scepter offers her water only if she confesses her sins. At first, Cersei's arrogance shields her, but the longer she remains, the more her resolve cracks. The Queen Mother, who once commanded with fear, is reduced to begging for relief, stripped of her illusion of control. Meanwhile, in the north, Stannis Baratheon's army is trapped in a storm of hunger, snow, and despair. Supplies dwindle, soldiers desert, and Davos urges retreat. But Stannis, stubborn as ever, insists on pressing forward. Melisandre's suggestions grow darker, hinting at sacrifice by royal blood. Though the horror of her proposal hangs unspoken in this episode, its shadow looms heavily over the camp. The heart of the episode lies with Jon Snow and Tormund Giantsbane as they travel to Hardhome, a settlement where thousands of wildlings have gathered. For them, it is a fragile sanctuary against the endless winter. Jon offers them a pact: open the gates of the wall, join the Night's Watch, and fight together against the White Walkers. His words are met with skepticism. Generations of bloodshed cannot be forgotten overnight. Yet Jon's honesty and Tormund's support sway some of them. Just as fragile hope begins to take root, the sky darkens, silence spreads, and a new terror arrives. What follows is one of the most harrowing battles in television history. The White Walkers unleash their dead upon the settlement in an unstoppable wave. Screams fill the air as the undead crash through the defenses. Mothers clutch their children, warriors fight desperately, and chaos consumes the camp. Jon and Tormund scramble to load as many wildlings onto boats as possible, knowing only the sea offers escape. Jon faces a White Walker in direct combat. With Longclaw, his Valyrian steel sword, he strikes down the icy creature. This moment reveals an invaluable truth. Valyrian steel, like dragon glass, can kill White Walkers. But even this revelation cannot turn the tide. The living are hopelessly outnumbered. For every foe cut down, 2 more rise. The survivors retreat in horror, leaving thousands to die. The climax of the episode delivers an image that sears itself into memory. As Jon and the survivors row away in silence, the Night King steps onto the dock. His gaze locks with Jon's. Slowly, deliberately, he raises his arms. The thousands of wildlings who had just perished rise again, their eyes glowing blue, now soldiers of death. No words are spoken. The soundless resurrection is more chilling than any battle cry. Jon watches, helpless and shaken. The truth is undeniable. This is the war that matters, and humanity may already be losing. The episode closes with Jon staring back at the Night King as the dead rise in silence. The oars dip into the water, carrying the survivors away, but the horror lingers. The camera holds on Jon's haunted face, capturing his realization. All the petty conflicts of men mean nothing compared to the threat that looms from beyond the wall. Hardhome is more than a battle. It is a prophecy in motion, a glimpse of the apocalypse awaiting Westeros. The episode opens with Stannis Baratheon's camp collapsing under the crushing winter storms of the north. His army is starving, morale is evaporating, and deserters flee into the snow. Davos Seaworth begs him to retreat, to live and fight another day. But Stannis, stubborn and blinded by ambition, refuses. Melisandre whispers that only the Lord of Light can grant him victory, but such aid requires sacrifice, royal blood. The unthinkable is spoken aloud. His daughter, Princess Shireen. At first, Stannis resists. He loves Shireen in his quiet, awkward way. Yet desperation and faith entwine, and he agrees to the horror. In a moment both heart-shattering and unforgettable, Shireen walks willingly to the pyre, believing her father has entrusted her with a noble duty. But when the flames rise, her screams pierce the cold night. Soldiers avert their eyes, Selyse collapses in grief, and Melisandre watches with zealous conviction. Stannis has traded his soul for a shadow of victory. In Braavos, Arya Stark continues her training with the Faceless Men. Disguised as a fishmonger's daughter, she is ordered to assassinate a crooked insurance seller known as the Thin Man. Yet Arya's mission is derailed when she spots Ser Meryn Trant, a knight of the Kingsguard and a name on her kill list. Fueled by vengeance, Arya abandons her assignment and stalks Trant through the streets. She discovers him in a brothel, preying on young girls. Arya's rage hardens, and though she does not strike yet, the moment marks her first true step away from her training, choosing personal vengeance over the will of the many-faced god. In Dawn, tension simmers but remains secondary to the main arcs. Myrcella Baratheon shares tender moments with Trystane Martell, dreaming of a future together. Jaime and Bronn remain uneasy, their mission half success, half failure. The brewing conflict here serves as a quiet reminder of the many fires yet to ignite across Westeros. The climax begins in Meereen, where Daenerys Targaryen reluctantly attends the reopening of the fighting pits. Her face betrays her discomfort as men slaughter one another for spectacle. Tyrion, now her advisor, sits by her side, observing both queen and city. Among the fighters is Jorah Mormont, seeking redemption. With determination and skill, he defeats his opponents, Yet the true danger reveals itself when the sons of the Harpy strike. Chaos erupts. Masked assassins flood the arena, slaughtering indiscriminately. Tyrion proves his worth by saving Missandei, while his Darzo Lorak is cut down. Daenerys, surrounded, seems cornered even as Jorah fights desperately to protect her. And then the sky trembles. Drogon descends in fire and fury, a storm of wings and flame. His roars shake the arena and his breath turns assassins to ash. But the beast suffers wounds. Spears pierce his hide, and blood darkens his scales. In the midst of the carnage, Daenerys steps forward. For the first time, she seizes her destiny. With calm courage, she mounts Drogon. The crowd stares in awe and terror as the queen ascends into the sky. This is not merely survival, it is rebirth. The mother of dragons has become truly the rider of dragons. History stirs and the world changes. The episode closes with Daenerys soaring above the city on Drogon's back. The arena, a battlefield of blood and ash below. Her ascent is triumphant yet bittersweet, juxtaposed against the horror of Shireen's death. The Dance of Dragons has begun again, not as history but as prophecy fulfilled. One dragon rises in fire, one kingdom falls in smoke. After sacrificing his daughter Shireen, Stannis Baratheon expects the Lord of Light to reward him with victory. Instead, his army crumbles further. The snows do not melt, his men desert, and Selyse, driven mad with grief over Shireen's death, hangs herself. Even Melisandre begins to doubt, though her faith remains cloaked in defiance. Stannis presses forward regardless, bringing his diminished force to the gates of Winterfell. Ramsay Bolton leads a larger, fresher army. The battle is brutal but short. Stannis' men are slaughtered or scatter in the snow. Wounded and alone, Stannis is discovered by Brienne of Tarth. She recalls his role in Renly's death and executes him in the name of justice. Thus ends the campaign of the rightful king, not with triumph, but with ignominy and blood. Within the walls of Winterfell, Sansa Stark seizes her only chance at freedom. While Ramsay is away, she lights a candle in the broken tower, the signal she was promised. Yet no rescue comes. Theon Greyjoy, finally breaking free of Ramsay's hold, chooses at last to aid her. Together they climb the battlements and leap into the snow below. Their fate is uncertain, but for the first time in many episodes, Sansa takes her freedom into her own hands. In Braavos, Arya Stark abandons her mission to kill the Thin Man when she spots Sir Meryn Trant, one of the names on her kill list. Donning the face of a young girl, Arya lures Trant into complacency before brutally murdering him. She stabs him repeatedly, gouges his eyes, and exacts every ounce of vengeance she has carried since King's Landing. But vengeance comes at a price. When Arya returns to the House of Black and White, Jaqen H'ghar confronts her. She has taken a life not sanctioned by the many-faced god. As punishment, her sight is stripped away. Arya falls into darkness, blinded, her journey with the faceless men taking a new, terrifying turn. Far across the sea, Daenerys Targaryen has been carried far from Meereen on the back of Drogon. Exhausted and wounded, the dragon refuses to fly further, forcing Daenerys to wander alone across desolate fields. She finds herself surrounded by a massive khalasar of Dothraki horsemen. The circle closes around her, spears glinting in the sun. The mother of dragons is once again reduced to a captive figure, her fate uncertain despite her power. Back in Meereen, Tyrion Lannister is left behind with Grey Worm, Missandei, and Jorah Mormont. For the first time, Tyrion steps into the role of governance far from Westeros. His challenge is monumental. Keep the fragile city from collapse without Daenerys' presence. His quick wit and sharp mind will be tested as never before. In King's Landing, Cersei Lannister faces the consequences of her schemes. Under pressure, she confesses only to her adultery with Jaime while denying the rest of the charges. The High Sparrow decrees that she must atone with a public walk of penance. Her hair is shorn, her clothes stripped away. Barefoot and humiliated, Cersei is forced to walk from the great sept of Baelor to the Red Keep. The streets echo with chants of "Shame, shame, shame," as the people throw food, spit, and stones at her. The once proud Queen Mother is reduced to a broken figure, bleeding and trembling as she stumbles into the arms of Qyburn. But behind her tears lies fury. The walk has humiliated her, but it has not destroyed her. Cersei's thirst for vengeance burns stronger than ever. At Castle Black, Jon Snow continues to bring wildlings through the wall, believing their survival essential for the wars to come. Yet his brothers of the Night's Watch see only betrayal. Led by Sir Alliser Thorne, they conspire against him. Jon is lured into the courtyard with claims of news about his uncle Benjen. But it is a trap. One by one, his brothers stab him, whispering the words, "For the Watch." The final dagger comes from Ollie, the boy Jon trusted. The betrayal is personal and crushing. Jon collapses into the snow, his blood pooling around him, his breath leaving his body as the screen fades to black. The episode ends with the haunting image of Jon Snow lying lifeless in the snow, blood spreading beneath him. The winds of the north howl, and the screen goes dark. Westeros has lost its last honest leader, and the realm spirals deeper into chaos. Mother's mercy reminds us that in the world of Game of Thrones, mercy is a luxury almost no one can afford.